Hello students, this is my third video lecture on the novel Bye Bye Blackbird. In the novel Bye Bye Blackbird, you will find that the novelist has dealt with the problems of immigration. When you go through the novel, you will find out the various kinds of themes like East-West encounter, alienation, identity crisis, displacement, the problem of adjustment, and so on. Now, we have three important characters, Adit, Dev, and Sarah. In previous video lecture, I explained the character of Adit and tried to show the problems of immigrants. Now, in this lecture, I'll come to another character, and through that character, I will also study some issues related to the problems of immigrants. Now, you find in the novel that Adit is, he appreciates English life, English culture, but ultimately he comes to the conclusion that no, this country is not meant for him. Let me go back to India, where his real self will start. And he also tells Sarah that she may also accompany him. So we find out this much in previous video lecture. Now you see, Adit is an incurable romantic adorer of the West, and Dev, another character in the novel, is a sarcastic iconoclast. When you read the novel, you'll find out that this is the phrase which is used for Dev, that he is a sarcastic iconoclast. He is a skeptic by nature and has a realistic notion about everything, and believes in the Oriental wisdom, and has come to prove it to British professors and intellectuals. I told you that why has he come to England? Why has Adit come to England? Adit has come to England because he needs better job. In India, he was doing the clerical job and he was getting only 250 rupees. Now, what is the purpose of the visit of Dev? Dev has come to England to study at London School of Economics in order to be an England returned teacher. Now, this is the line which is used in the novel, England returned teacher. Now, you see, this is a kind of, I think, colonial mentality which is there in the mind of Dev, that he wants to become an England returned teacher. That becomes a symbol of superiority. Now, in England, Adit hardly notices the few drawbacks, but Dev is very much conscious about all these things. This is basically, as I have told you, a colonial racial superiority which considers everything non-white as useless. Dev finds that in England, immigrants are strangers and outsiders. Wherever he goes, he becomes a victim of racial discrimination and is constantly regarded as not only a second-grade citizen, but also an intruder, and consequently to stand in a separate laboratory queue for Asiatics. I'll give you one example from the novel, that while waiting for the bus in a cluster, they was called Vogue, W-O-G, Vogue. When you read the novel at around page number 14, you will find out that he was called Vogue by a damson-cheeked boy. He reacted by calling him Paji. When he was said Vogue, he said Paji. Soon he is again humiliated by Mrs. Simpson's remarks, littered with Asians. This is a statement which is used by Mrs. Simpson's. Now, Dev is greatly displeased by British peddlers' refusal to tell him the real price of Madonna and child. The peddler considered him a shabby Indian and a pauper, to whom telling the price was useless. You see, there is a reference in the novel that he was asking the price of Madonna and the child, but the peddler refused to tell him the price because the peddler thought that this person cannot, purchase this, this image. So now Dev was very much irritated that, these people are not telling me the price. Do I look like that? So Dev was sharing his experience with Adit, and Adit then consoled Dev. And Adit says, a little superior charm is all you need to impress these clots. Now, the novelist, as a universal observer, peeps into the inner psyche of Dev, who once says, I would not live in a country where I was insulted and unwanted. Now, once when Dev was about to be interviewed for a job, the interviewer asked him his background. I mean, it usually happens that when interview takes place, the interviewer always makes an interaction with the candidate. Similar thing happens with Dev. The interviewer asks his background. Now, the moment he learnt that Dev was not a Christian, he said, there is a line, I have just noted it somewhere, the line, that this is there in the novel at page number 108. And the line is, that interviewer said, not a Catholic, not even Christian. I am sorry. Dear me, I ought to have mentioned it at once. We simply must have a Catholic, or at least a high churchman. It's public relations. I'm afraid it would not do to have a Hindu gentleman in this job. This is in the novel at page number 108. Now, Dev did not know why he had chosen to become another Macaulay's bastard. Again, you have this phrase in the novel, Macaulay's bastard, for these, people. He said that why will I become Macaulay's bastard with an extraordinary precision of thought? He wondered how it was that so many people in this country of so many generations and so many social and economic classes had been brought up on a language and literature completely alien to them. He is, aware of schizophrenia that is infecting like a disease. Now, he is never sure of what might be. Dev takes his final decision to stay there. Now, you look at the post-colonial literature, sometimes this text is also interpreted as a post-colonial text. Now, English people, now when you read Ngugi wa Thiong'o's essay, Decolonizing the Mind, now in Decolonizing the Mind, Ngugi wa Thiong'o explains how did colonizers try to enslave the mind of the colonized. Now, one aspect of colonizing the mind was one aspect of colonizing the colonized was to enslave the mind. And how can the mind be enslaved? By language. Even today, say for example, if I know English and if you don't know English, I'll speak few flowery sentences before you and you will not be able to express yourself in English. You will feel inferiority complex at that time and I'll be able to dominate you. It happens. It happens because we try to impose English on you. So, during colonial period, Britishers actually used language as a weapon to enslave the mind of the people. Now, what happens in the case of Dev? Dev says, "Oh, I'm staying in England, and wherever I'm going, I find a kind of discrimination which is there. I'm not being selected by the interviewer because I'm not a Christian. I'm a Hindu." And these people are not going to tell me the price of a particular thing because they think that I am non-white, I am Indian. He says, no, 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 I'm not, I'm going to take one decision. And then there is a line in the novel. I have just noted down this line. This is at page number 122. Dave says that he explains the reason why will he stay in England. He said, all I want is, well, yes, a good time, not to return to India. You just look at the change. Not to return to India, not to marry and breed up, go to office, come home and go to office again, but to know a little, freedom to indulge in a little adventure, to know. Now, about the jobs, they was told by Mrs. Roscommon James, there are many for people with the right complexion, of course, but not for Indians. He asked himself why he was wasting the last of his father's money and not studying politics, philosophy and economics. In fact, he has the answer to all these questions, and in this reply we have a strong anti-colonial note. Again, in the novel, if you read the novel, I have noted down the line which is said by Dave. And Dave says that he says, I'm here, he intoned as an ambassador. I'm showing these damn imperialists with their lost colonies complex that we are free people now with our own personalities, that this veneer of an English education has not obscured and not afraid to match ours with theirs. I am here to interpret my country to them, to conquer England as they once conquered India. This line is very significant, to conquer England as they once conquered India. Now, at present also, you just see that English is the language of the Britishers, but we are using it and we are excelling. Earlier, there was only British literature, but now Indian literature is also flourishing in English very much. Now, you see, when you read the personality of, Dave's views on church, I mean, they have also kind of, a post-colonial, touch. What is the post-colonial touch in his concept? Dave, when you read the novel, you find out that Dave does not feel comfortable while looking at churches in London. He feels that, these are not temples of Christ, but temples dedicated to the British Empire. They seem not to celebrate the Christian concept of God so much as the British concept of God, king and, country. These form the holy trinity of the British and not God the Father, the Son and the, Holy Ghost. By populating their temples with these massive marble memorials to their admired warriors and statesmen, they proclaim their belief that it is not piety that makes a man worthy of his honor, but service, dedicated, ambitious, and above all, successful service to king and country in the name of God. At the end, Dave says, they do not seem to come to worship Christ at any austere altar, but to pay homage to the might and power of the empire. Obviously, Dave has more reasons to be lonely, and thus when he ventures into the city, he feels like a Kafka, a stranger wandering through the dark labyrinth of a prison. Now, in choosing, Sarah, an English wife of Adit, the novelist has also decolonized the concept of racial superiority, and the same time brings into light those problems which a lady comes across if she gets married with a non-white person. There are two issues which the novelist has brought before us through the character of Sarah. One is when Adit marries Sarah, a non-white person is marrying the white. And second thing is what are the problems which are related to women, actually, the major concern which we find in the novels of Anita Desai. Now, you see, you just look at this, that how can a colonizer, that is Sarah, obey to the commands of colonized, that is Adit. And therefore, Sarah was humiliated and insulted by friends on the ground of her Indian husband, because they always consider it below dignity that how can a white woman get married with the non-white person. Now, she was always humiliated in the public by the English people. She used to be chided by her parents because she was doing hard labor at her home. Once Mrs. Roscommon James, her mother, said, there is a very good line in the novel. When you read the novel and read the novel again and again, there are certain lines which you will memorize. So there is a line by her mother. She says, as a mother, I am very shocked to hear how hard you have to work. Now, among her company, she was often addressed as, now again, we are very interesting, incidents there in the novel. So, when she was in her company, she was always addressed, Hari, Hari, Mrs. Curry. Now, curry again, which is related to India. So, Hari, Hari, Mrs. Curry, a kind of derogatory statement used for, Sarah. Once she was deeply hurt when one of her friends commented, again, we have this line in the novel where one of her friends said that if she's that ashamed of having an Indian husband, why did she go and marry him? Again, this is a very derogatory statement. Sarah stands for a reconciliatory approach between the East and the West. She outlines a proper and balanced approach to the various groups of human relationships. Sarah swings in between her natural inclination and willing adoption. Now, in the closing part of the novel, the novelist presents a clear reversal of attitudes of the two expatriates. Now, I told you in the beginning that Adit is a kind of Anglophile and Dev is a kind of Indophile. But in the closing part of the novel, we have the reversal of the attitudes of these expatriates. Now, Adit, the man who loves it, leaves it for good and decides to settle down in India, contrary to Dev, who had come to England with a purpose to pursue higher education and was determined to go back, settle there. Now, this is again, we have reversal of, attitudes of these expatriates. Now, in the concluding part of the novel, you will find out that Adit becomes Indophile and Dev becomes Anglo because Dev stays there. So, England changes Dev's Anglophobia extreme into an Anglophile. Dev abominated Adit's mind and prepares himself fully to settle down in England for its luxurious life. Now, like George Eliot, Desai also leaves her characters to grow independently and watches the inner feelings. Author has made the diagnosis of the inner querying in Adit and Dev for their respective change towards life. After seeing Adit and Sarah off, because Adit and Sarah ultimately they were bidden farewell by Dev, and Dev says, there's a very famous line in the novel. When you read it line by line, you will have this line in your mind. Make my bed and light the light. Make my bed and light the light. I arrive late tonight. Bye bye Blackbird. This is there in the novel. I'm repeating it. Make my bed and light the light. I arrive late tonight, blackbird, bye, bye. So they, does not yet know, as we do, that he too will return to his native land, though late. One blackbird takes the place of another, has his experience and departs. This drama of the lives of the immigrants thus, goes on. Adit must have been, like Dev sometimes in the past, and now we know that the roaming Dev will one day be the homing Adit. On the foreign land, the native experiences gets mingled with the foreign experience, and Adit, who has an amalgamated experience while returning to his native land, thinks of himself as a retiring ambassador going home. Now, there is a line, again I have written it down. Now he was going to carry the message of England to the east, not the old message of the colonist, the tradesman or the missionary, but the new message of the free convert, the international citizen, a message of progress and good cheer, advance and good will. Now, this is basically Adit's suppressed nationalist resistance to colonialism, and at the same time a plea for cultural independence. He has not developed the feeling of antipathy towards England because his English wife Sarah is with him. He rejects hegemony and believes in coexistence of two, where the equal distribution of power has been made. Adit says, bye bye blackbirds, and his coming back to India is basically a kind of rebellion against the colonial nature of the British people. So we find how the three characters, Adit, Dev and Sarah, they grow in the novel, how Adit changes his personality, how Dev changes his personality, what are the problems which are associated with the personality of Sarah. The novel beautifully depicts the problems related to the expatriates, the problem of exile, the problem of adjustment, the problems related to human relationship, east to west encounter, cultural difference, cultural conflict, displacement, alienation, identity crisis, and so on. So this much all about the novel Bye Bye Blackbird. So when you are going to study the novel, watch all the three videos, then you will understand it properly. Thank you very much.